And this is part of my story that a lot of people don't know because I never really talked about it because all of these things are uncovering now for me.
Welcome to Shift Choices and Laughter Lifts. And today our guest is Susan Bailey. She's the founder of Powerful Women Unite. She's an international #1 bestseller author, motivational speaker, empowerment coach. And what else can I say about Susan? She is, no, I'm going to carry on. Sorry. She is so motivational. She has amazing stories to share. And she also works helping people to share their own stories, but the one that is truly authentic, that resonates with their heart. And this is why I fall in love with this woman. Welcome, Susan.
Thank you. I'm so pleased to be here. And it's funny when you said, what else can I say about Susan? And I was going to cut in because there are so many things, right? We are also multidimensional. I mean, I'm also a mother, blended family, grandmother, and life is just so amazing. We can be anything we want to be, and I am so many things. So yeah, I'm so pleased to be here.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you so much. So let's talk about stories. Why it's so important to tell our story.
Yeah, so when I was younger, I used to just talk for the sake of talking, right? And to be seen and to be heard. But it wasn't purposeful. It wasn't a purposeful story. It was just a lot of chatter. And as I grew up, I realized that in order to have a good relationship with self, with others, with potential clients, with anyone we really want to have a relationship with, story is really that powerful thing that helps us remember who they are and what they're all about. Because we remember story, especially if there's a poignant moment in there that connects with why we're telling the story in the first place.
What happens when we actually start telling the story and we forget the story?
Okay. Now that's something that a lot of people say to me. And I don't rehearse, quote unquote, a story, but I go from my truth, from my memory. And if you're telling the truth, you really don't have to remember anything. If you're telling the truth of something that actually happened to you, then, I can relay a story from when I was 5 years old and how that made me feel and what it made me, how it made me interact with the people that were around me. I probably know what I wore because I have a really, really good memory. Now, for those who don't have that great of a memory, it's speaking to the energy in the room and the people in the room that you're speaking to and remembering why you're telling the story in the first place. Because if you have an outcome, there's always a good reason to continue sharing that story, whether you're sharing teaching points or whether you're pulling out feelings or you're asking questions of your audience. It all helps to trigger those things within our story and to, why we actually told that in the first place.
I love that. And one of the things that I have realized myself as a speaker is I can never remember what I'm going to say because I found out, and we even have worked together. Thank you very much. And I actually convinced myself that I am the soulful speaker and I'm just happy to improvise and just go with the flow and with what I'm feeling, what I feel that the audience needs to hear from me too. I think the best example that I got is last year I have done Body Mind Spirit Festival, and when I have start talking from a speaker from the point of view that is what is here for them, I realized that actually I don't need to talk too much about me because people that come for events like this, they want to know, okay, I want to know myself. I want to know how can I be a better person. I want to know how I can overcome certain challenges in my life. How can you help me? So I decided during my days of speaking that actually I'm going to make myself available to answer questions. And this is what I have done, trying to connect with their truth, because sometimes, when we make a question, but it's not actually that question that we want to make. So with the way I work, I could actually feel into what's the truth within that question and then be able to adapt to what actually they needed to hear and then of course explain it in a way that everybody could relate and connect. What is the importance for you when you work with your clients to help them to feel that they can be into this stage, that they can put their fear aside and then remember that it's not about them, but it's about the audience?
Yeah. And you know, I say embrace that fear because we all like I'm a seasoned speaker, right? I've spoken on several hundred stages and I've spoken about the work that I was doing prior to becoming a speaker. And now I talk about personal stories and how that relates to the work that I do. But I think it's about embracing that fear because every time I get on stage, I feel that fear and we feel the fear and do it anyways. And fear and excitement are actually the same thing. So if you can turn that fear into an excited state of, I'm here, I'm sharing, I get to be here so that these people understand whatever it is you're talking about. And then just embrace that. And I love what you've said about, make it about them because it is about them. It's about what they want to hear, what they want to experience. And if we tell a story in a way that we give them just enough information so that they can live it through their eyes, then they're actually living their story as we speak. And so it brings them to life. And by looking at the audience and sharing with the audience and feeling that fear, feeling that humanity or humanality of who we are, right? We're human, everybody else in the audience is human. And if we are looking at the audience and we're seeing who and how they're responding to those around them, are they looking at us? Are they looking at their phone? What are they doing? The more that they're paying attention to us and what we're speaking about, we know that they're interested and we get that lean in. And then we just have to elaborate more on what that is that we're talking about and how it helps them. I hope that answers your question
No,
because there was a
yeah.
lot of information there.
Listen, here there is no right and no wrong. We always try to figure out what's the best way to live life. And this is why I love to have people from all sorts of backgrounds and walks of life, because this talk show is about helping people to understand. We're here to just find what is our truth, have fun, and be able to learn to accept ourselves and accept others, because we all are somehow connected. And how amazing if we can carry on this journey, learning and be open to hear different perspectives too. And so, yeah, thank you.
Yeah, and I love what you said about connection because connecting through story is huge. You know, you might remember somebody from stage. Like if I'm at an event and it's like, oh, I remember Marcella. Oh, what did she speak about? I would rather have somebody say, oh man, remember that woman that spoke about how important it is to provide information and show yourself and be powerful and be true to who you are. What was her name again? Oh, right. Her business was this and her name was Marcella, right? So if they remember the experience of what you talked about, they will remember something about your business, your name. But if they just remember your name and oh, she had a beautiful outfit, which you do, by the way. But if they just remember, oh, she had this beautiful outfit and I loved her smile and I loved her eyes. Okay, what did she talk about? And what was that story she told? So when we can connect through the story and people have that positive experience, they're not always going to remember what you say. You know, one of the things I teach is people in general, I teach women particularly, but people in general will remember 7% of what they hear, 7%. So just 7%, which is a very small amount. 23% of what they see, but 70% of what they experience. So give them an amazing experience, and they're going to remember that. So that's one of the things that as we tell a story, make sure it's an experience for someone. Make sure they can see it through their eyes so that they are truly experiencing that which you have shared with them.
I love that. And I was thinking, I was listening to you and I thought, and you know what? And if they couldn't remember what we haven't spoken about because they got too emotional at the time, I just want they remember the hug that we have exchanged, that beautiful energy.
Yes.
So how you make people feel. I remember when you and I have met for the first time speaking at Oxford University, someone that actually had spoken literally just before me. She got extremely emotional and she even cried and she had to give some pauses. And I start to feel into her because of my sensitivity. And I was like, oh my goodness, I'm the next one. And it's like thinking about the personal responsibility, trying to contain my own feelings and my own energy. And at the same time, it's like, oh my God, I'm next. So I literally just need to stop myself out and then be there and smile and get this stage, which is mine, if that makes sense. So I think it's so interesting when we are there into that arena and someone comes extremely, let's say, powerful just before you speak. And it's like people sometimes they feel insecure and they're thinking, oh my goodness, they go to the comparison mode, they think, I can't be as good as, and that's the worst thing that people can do. So I would love you to talk a little bit more about that, because I know you also help people to deal with these sort of insecurities, let's put like this.
Yes, and you know, if you have an opportunity to pick your spot when you're speaking, go first, because that is so often the case. If you're, you know, behind a whole bunch of powerful speakers and they've had a message that maybe was even similar to the message that you're going to provide, just remember, it's not about totally the message. There's the message, there's the story, and there's you. So you have unique qualities. So if somebody is like, they are such a dynamic speaker, like if I had to talk after, I don't know, Tony Robbins, I'd be like, oh my God, how do I even follow that? But the point is, it's not about following it or matching their energy or matching who they are. It's about being yourself and bringing your own energy into it. Feed off of some of the energy from a prior speaker, but put your own energy into it and speak your message, speak your truth, who you are. And that is going to be an empowered feeling, regardless of what the person before you said, the person after you said. I find a lot of times that at events where there's 10 speakers, and the last speaker or the second last speaker will say, oh, well, it's just like we heard from Marcella and from Susan and from Brent and you start to pick up on all of these speakers. Well, you've used a minute of your time talking about everybody else. You've got a certain amount of time, right? Make sure you fill it with your love and your message and your excitement and your personality, because as much as it's about the audience, it's your time and
It's
it's
your
your
space.
message, right? And it's about you in that moment to help others. It's not about the speaker that spoke before. It's not about the dynamic, empowered speaker that spoke, you know, 3 times before you. It's about you in that moment. So grab your own energy, your own spirit, turn your own fear into excitement and share that message that you came to share. And I think the more powerful a message you have, and the more it's connected to your truth and it's aligned with the work that you do, I don't think there's ever a time when you shouldn't feel unempowered or comparing yourself to others. Because again, it's not about them. It's about you, your message, and the people that you're speaking to.
I love that. And I was thinking, how about we share some vulnerability here and how I'm going to start this. I'm going to release a second edition of my book, and this is very special chapter is actually called Healing Visibility. And I believe, like me, how I used to feel, many people relate with what I'm going to say. And the chapter is very much about that, to help people try to understand what sort of fears holds us back. What sort of inner voices, yeah, that inner critique are always going on and on and on. And it's always usually the same thing. What people are going to think about me, what actually they will perceive of what I am sharing. They're going to judge me. They're going to be spiteful. They're going to hurt me. They're going to twist my words. And what happens if I forget what I'm supposed to say? They will be literally just making fun of me. And what would happen if maybe I sometimes need to talk about other people that was involved on how I felt? And how about all the toxic people and everybody else that made me feel how I felt in a way that I felt that I could not open my mouth? I need to silence myself. Or perhaps I could not share any of my principles, ideas, and values because all my childhood, I always had someone judging me and telling me that I was wrong and everything that I did was not good enough. And with my work helping people, overcome their pains and their trauma, these are basically some of the common themes. So I thought, why not, now that I have done my inner work, that I feel fearless person, I own my truth, and I was about to swear. Sorry. So, no, we can't do that. So, sorry, I had to laugh now. What I was trying to say is, help me out, Susan.
Help you out. So
Yeah,
what you're trying to say, and it's interesting because as you're talking about people judging you,
yeah,
and
yeah.
I don't believe that people have time anymore to judge you.
Oh, people
They're too
do have time.
they're too busy judging themselves,
Yes.
but they're judging themselves through the eyes of other people. So they're looking for somebody to deflect, right? If we're angry at someone, are we really angry at them or are we angry at ourselves? And it's easier to blame somebody else and to deflect on somebody else, right? Same thing with judgment. I used to, so one of the talks I did, and this is bringing up some memories. So one of the talks I did, I remember it was very early on in my speaking career. And there was this gentleman in the front row, and he was on his phone, and he kept like looking at his phone and then looking up and then looking at his phone, and then he would text, and I got very angry because it was like, okay, buddy, it's not about you and your text and the person you're talking to. It's about me in this moment, and you need to listen to my message, and it's going to help you and it's going to empower you. And I spent more time worrying about him than I did about everybody else in the audience. And afterwards, I went over to him and I said, "Oh, I'm just wondering, how did you like the talk? And, did it like excite you?" And he goes, "I have to be honest, I really wasn't listening to your talk." And I said, "Oh, and why is that?" "Well, I had a family emergency at home and I was trying to figure out how to cope and how to help my wife with my daughter going through this traumatic thing at school. And I was hoping that something you would say would help trigger this, but because I was in the front row, I didn't want to get up and leave because I thought that would be disrespectful." So in that moment, I realized, and now I teach, it's not about trying to get the attention of the person who's on their phone, right? It's looking at those people in the audience that truly love you and are truly engaged with you, but understand that every single person in that room has a story that you know nothing about, and you never will. And you cannot change what's going on in their mind. And we might think, oh, they're judging us. And it might be, no, they're judging themselves, but they're projecting it upon us.
Funny story, slightly different from yours. With mine, when someone was on the phone, they actually was going on my website to check who I was, and then they was reading about me, and I thought, wow, that was super cool. And then next, they actually went on Instagram and sent me a private message saying how much they was enjoying the talk, and I was like,
Right, but you don't know, right? You can look at that person and go, why aren't you paying attention to me?
no. For me, like, it doesn't really matter because it's like the way I feel is I trust that I am connecting with who meant to be there listening to my message. Whoever is not ready, to deal with their inner world and transform that inner world, I just trust that it's okay. Maybe in 6 months' time, 2 years' time, God knows. We all have our time to heal. And just going back to the whole fear element to. In my case, and I hope this can help people with their own fears, it's like when we do our inner work and we go through every single trauma that we have lived, which is my case, then you start to realize what actually is the truth. And sometimes, as you mentioned, it's not really about us. Sometimes we was involved in certain situations because we was the teachers,
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
we just don't know. So instead of we say, well, I have been the victim all of this time, actually no, you just don't have the maturity to be able to perceive things from a different perspective. So I have worked with someone recently, which she basically thought that her mother was a narcissist her whole life. And during our session, she actually realized that actually her mother was grieving, and she did the best that she could to protect her and the rest of the family. And while she was trying to still figure out how to be the mother and the father to raise them, leave her grief. So she was no narcissist. She was protecting them. She sold the animals to be able to pay for their studies and was able to still pay the bills from the farm and provide for the family. So all in life is about we be able to see things from different perspectives. And even the stories that we tell ourselves, you probably understand what I'm going to say, especially coming from this background of coaching too that I know you have. When we achieve certain maturity within our life and we can start what I call seeing the big picture, and we look to the past, and things are not going to have basically not the same sense that we believed most of our life that they had, because we can see things from a more compassionate point of view, from a place of love, empathy, and then nothing else matters. What matters is where we are and how we can make that future better for us. So yeah, please share your own experience on this subject.
Yeah, and the one of the big words that keeps coming up is control.
Mm.
So that inner story that we're telling ourselves, you talk about past. Well, we can't control our present even more than we couldn't control our past. Things are going to happen to us, for us, to show us and help us learn. It happened then, it's happening now. All we can control is how we respond to that and how we react to what we've heard or seen. I cannot control what you're going to ask me next. I cannot control when you put this out to the world. I cannot control any of that. All I can do is control how I respond and how the story that's playing out in my head can help that particular situation, right? I can continue to say, oh, I'm stuck because of something that happened in my past. And some of the work I do with my clients is to go back through their past. If I feel that there's something that they're holding on to from when they were 10, 12, 14, something that happened to them that's keeping them stuck there, the beliefs that they're thinking, the ideas of not being able to move forward. So then it's about going back to the past and rewriting that story. Because was that the truth? Right? I think about a story when my brother, years and years ago, said to me, Susan, you're not pretty. You have no friends. You're not good enough. You're not worthy. You will never be successful. Now, I don't know if those are the exact words he said, but that's what I heard. And so what was playing out for me as I go back to that is, why was he being so mean to me? And I think, I don't know if it's about that. It was his story. It wasn't mine. He was saying, wow, how lucky are you that you don't have friends because you don't have anyone to impress? How lucky are you that you're not pretty, so all these boys in school aren't going to want you for the wrong things? How lucky are you? Like, to turn that into, how has that then gone through my life? Like, I stayed in the role of victim for many, many years. You talked about that. But I now look at it and say, how did that serve me? Did it serve me to be a victim? Or has that helped shape the life who I am today? and how I was meant to be today. So now I look back and I say to my brother, I mean, I figured out why he told me and everything behind it from his perspective, or so I think. And I said to him, do you want me to share with you what I think you were going through? Do you want to tell me that? And he said, no, I have my own lessons and my own experiences from that time. You go back and tell yourself what you need to know as to how that helped improve who you are today. And so it's really everything that we've been told, every story, every belief, every bit of doubt that we have to reframe that and tell ourselves a different story, because that internal dialogue will help us tell a better story to others, to connect with them, to help them know how to work with us, to help them know that they're better off with certain things in life. And, even to relate on a different relationship level. Like, you've gotten to know me more through some of the stories I share. And I hope that anybody that's watching this will get to know me more by the story I shared about my brother. It wasn't about me. It wasn't my truth. It was his truth. My truth is what I tell myself and what I believe about myself. And I never believed I wasn't pretty. I never believed that I wouldn't succeed. I just didn't believe I would succeed on his level. So I had to redefine success for myself,
Mm.
right? And redefine those things for me and what I believe in. My definition of success maybe is completely different than yours. So I know how to fulfill it because I've defined it for me. And I think that's very important, right? I define what pretty is for me. I define what um, abundance is for me. And then I start to live my truth so that those things can manifest into my life. And that's the point of living. I don't know that I will ever measure up to the standards set by society. Or, if I have like $2 million, what is that going to do for me? Well, it's going
Mm.
to change my life, but it's going to change the lives of others as well, because I'm not going to live just for me. I'm going to live for others. Whereas somebody else might say, oh, $2 million, I'm buying my own resort, I'm buying my own this, I'm buying my own that. Okay, that's your definition of success, not mine.
Mm. Thank you, Susan. I think that now it's probably a follow-up from what you already have shared. Let's talk about the story of your daughter. So your daughter, the specifically one that has been diagnosed when she was, I believe, 6 months old with cerebral palsy. And I think this story is so incredible, inspiring. So my question for you is, how did you initially cope with the news, and what actually have motivated you to be able to challenge the limitations that were placed on her and even yourself by the medical professionals at the time?
Yeah, and you're talking about the story that's on my website, and that story of, you know, the doctors put the word can't into her world, and I helped her take it out of her world, and now that's reflected upon the work that I do. But if I go back to, this little angel of a daughter, my little Angela, she chose me to be her mother. I truly believe that. At the time, though, I had this daughter who was born premature. Um, she had hydrocephalus, water on the brain. Um, she needed what's called a shunt to pump all that fluid throughout her system so that it didn't stay in her head. I actually diagnosed her when she was 6 months old with cerebral palsy, because I said to the doctors, her left side isn't working right. And I was in this program and I remember thinking, why did this have to happen to me?
Mm.
I didn't drink, I didn't smoke, I didn't do drugs. Why me? And to talk about coping, how do I cope with that? How do I find the, oh, there's so many words. How did I find the resolve to know that I could be her mom? And it was a very, very tough time for me. And I have processed through it. And I have, there's sometimes I talk about it and people are like, how come that doesn't bring emotion to you anymore? I've worked through that emotion. And I am so grateful that that happened to me, because I look back and think it didn't happen to me. It happened to her. It didn't happen for me. It happened for her. But when the doctors put that word can't in her world, I looked at all the things that were told to me when I was younger. You know, you can't, I had a bad back. I have a bad back. And so the doctors said to me, well, you can't have children. And you shouldn't have, and this is part of my story that a lot of people don't know because I never really talked about it, because all of these things are uncovering now for me. um, you can't lift heavy objects. Well, I installed carpet. I lifted rolls of carpet. Like, you can't play sports. Well, I played soccer. I played softball. You can't. And my brother, who said, well, you can't be pretty and relatable and successful and worthy and all these things, because you're not enough. And it's like, I'm enough. You're enough. You were born enough and you're enough now. And I didn't want my daughter to relive or go through a life living focused on the can'ts. I wanted her to focus on the cans. What can you do? What are you capable of? Maybe it won't look like the way I do it, because I might tie my shoes differently than the way she does. I might get dressed differently than the way she does. But we all do things for ourselves. We all do things how they work for us, and they're all different. But I have to say, the one true powerful moment was not my story. It was listening to somebody else's. Because in that moment, when I was told at this program, and I was, why me? Why does this have to happen to me? What did I do to deserve this? I didn't speak those words. The woman beside me did. We had to go around in the circle of all these parents and say, this is my child's name, this is what their affliction is, and this is how I feel about it. And I'm listening to her say, this is my son's name. He has multiple system dysfunction. And I want to know, why me? Why did this have to happen to me? Why? And she went through and she was speaking my truth. She was speaking everything that was in me. And when she finished, the counselor said, I'm not sure why this had to happen to you. And I said, can I respond? He's like, sure. I said, it happened to you. It happened to me. It happened to everybody in this room, because we are special parents. And these special kids have to be born onto the parents that can take care of them. And it isn't those that have been drinking and smoking and doing drugs. It is those that have that true heart and that ability to cope and that ability to love. And she looked at me and said, can I hug you? Because that was so beautiful. And you're right. And in that moment, all my answers came to me. They were in me. They were for me. I already had all the answers that I needed inside of me. They just needed to be released. And I truly believe that every single person on the planet has the answers inside of them. It's about, what do they do to release those answers? Who do they work with to release those answers? What meaning do they have to those answers? Because again, it happened to my daughter. And I'm so grateful that it did. And I say that because if I hadn't taken the word can't out of her world and showed her how powerful her world could be, I never would have taken it out of mine. Because I took it out of mine 22 years later. When I got laid off from a job, I took it out of my world. Um, and now it's part of the work that I do, helping others take that word, or the word for them. Can't was my word. Maybe somebody else's word is shouldn't. You shouldn't behave like that. You shouldn't do that. It's about helping them take those words and making them more powerful, turning them into their internal story and their external story. So they have abundance in all areas of their life.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing. I like to think from the spiritual perspective too, you know, at least when I work with my clients and they want to know their whys, I take them into that deep level that they can understand and they have access to, because maybe we never know the stories. Yeah. When we say, yes, we are special, they are special. But the thing is, I truly believe, and that's my own experience too, that we have chosen to have the people that we come with as the family or as the soul family. In my case, for example, I have been born by a mother that actually have not really raised me. So I don't have those memories, but I have the memories of a new mom that has raised me. And then nowadays, I know the story. I know why we had to come together. I know why I had to come to this life, for example, and the father wasn't known, because I know that in a different life too, that represented a part of myself that also had to understand what it is, feel that you can't be the father. You know, so there is always, I like to say, an amazing intelligence that it's so unknown to us, but it's so powerful for us sometimes not even know until the time is right. Of course, I like to say when we actually deserve, when we actually are in a state that we can have that empathy, we can have that compassion towards to maybe who we was in another life, as an example, and we can totally embrace those flaws, because that part of ourselves has evolved. And if we have evolved, now we're understanding the whys. And I think that's so beautiful, at least on the work that I do. But I totally agree with you. You all are special parents. You all are special children. And the innocence, the beauty that is there within the parenting, it's something that is so magical, you know, that I like to say that even people that never ever gave, you know, birth or have a child or a daughter, they forget that they also should be nurturing their inner child. We all are parents. We all have our inner parenting, you know, to take responsibility for. Because if we look to our past, who can fix that? Who can give the love and compassion to that part of ourselves that once upon a time was so in need?
Yes, absolutely. And we are so connected. Yeah, there's something that you just said that we, when I lost my mom, and she died of old age, and like it was her time, and it was before COVID, thank God, because I don't think she would have figured out what COVID was all about, right? But when she passed, I'm like, oh well, who's gonna love me now? Who's gonna take care of me if I'm sick? Who's gonna be there for me? And it didn't take me long to realize I'm here for me. And I'm embracing that sick little child inside of me. I mean, I'm very fortunate because my kids also take care of me when I'm not feeling well. But anyone who you nurture can nurture you. But remembering that inner child who, because it's my inner child that wasn't loved, that I didn't feel was loved. It's my little 5-year-old inner Susan that always was searching for the love that she didn't get. And it wasn't her mom that was going to give that to her. It's me that is going to give that to her. And I didn't have to learn, quote unquote, how to be a mom. I just stepped up to the plate and just did it. I learned as I went. There was no manual, right? I'm still waiting for a manual to come out from my kids when they were born. My youngest is 23. A manual is not going to come out. But I figured out through trial and tribulations how to be her mom, and through my nieces and nephews, how to be their aunt and their nurturer and my clients. And it's just within the last 5 years that I can say I learned how to be my inner child's mom and my inner child's nurturer.
absolutely love that. So let's shift the things a little bit here.
Mhm.
Ooh, so ever, did you ever have a can't moment that turned it out to be just hilarious wrong, backfired, or in any funny way?
Mm. Yeah, probably.
Mhm.
Um, I remember, well, funny way, it's interesting. That happened just this past weekend for me.
Oh, you would say that.
Um, yeah. So I took a very impromptu, spontaneous trip to Vancouver, and I live in Alberta, Canada, and a friend of mine was doing a selfish woman retreat.
Mhm.
And I, very last minute, there was a lot of stuff happening at home. I'm doing renovations and I'm doing a lot of stuff. And I was at home and my tub didn't fit in perfectly. I can't do this. I can't figure out. I just want a bath. I thrive for water. Like I can't do this anymore. Well, then she phoned and said, or she actually posted on Facebook, and I messaged her and said, "Hey, good luck with your event, blah, blah, blah." And she's like, "Well, Susan, there's always room for you. You have to come to Vancouver. And it's this nice little retreat center, and it's on a lake, and it's this and that." And I'm like, "It's on a lake? Well, it's February, it's March, it's like, it's cold. There's no way, right?"
That would
So
be
we get there, right? We get there, and different ones are talking about doing a deep plunge first thing in the morning, the next morning, into this icy cold water. I'm like, I can't do that. I'm not doing that. Now, I've been in icy cold water before with hydrotherapy and pools, and where you go from hot to warm room temperature and then to icy cold, but never in a lake. And so I woke up Sunday morning and I'm like, so who's doing it with me? They're like, "What do you mean? You said yesterday you couldn't do it." I'm like, "I know, but there's something telling me I can today." And it's like, maybe it's God, maybe it's my higher power, maybe it's my adult Susan saying, "Susan, you can do this," right? Now, you can do this means I'm going to step into the icy water and then I'm going to retreat and get out right away. Okay. So we did the hot tub. We had to walk around the property because there's lots of private parts. We had to walk around the house, outside, which I think was the worst part of it, actually, to actually get to this icy lake in our bathing suits. Three of us went. I was the second one in, and I thought, I'm not going to step into that cold water and go, can't do this, right? I'm just going to do it. I'm just going to jump in. I'm just going to go in. And so I went in, and now here's the moment that you probably didn't expect.
Mhm.
I haven't said can't yet. I have said can't numerous times, but not the funny can't. I can't do this. So I went in, I dove down under the water. So now my entire body is immersed in cold, icy cold.
Yeah.
And I get under the water and I have no ground beneath my feet. It went from like a foot deep to 14 feet deep. It's just a little man-made lake. And I'm in there and I'm observing the other women. And the one that's like, "Oh, we did this, we did this, we did this. This is amazing. This is amazing." And she's walking towards to get out. And this other woman's like, "Okay, I'm ready to go." And then my brain went, "Oh, I can't stay here." But I wanted to stay in for 2 minutes.
Mhm.
And I started to laugh and I started to think, Susan, just think, if you can do this,
Yeah.
you can do anything. And then I heard this voice, this very loud voice that said, Susan, yes, you can. Yes, you will. Because yes, you were meant to. And usually I follow the leader. So the minute the leader goes out and goes, "Oh, okay, I did it. I got to get out now." I'm like, "No, I'm staying in here. I can't get out. I need to stay in." And so 2 minutes later, I slowly got out. I walked out. I didn't put the towel around me. And I just walked into the house and let all the air warm up. And I got in there and they were laughing and giggling. And there was other women in the house that were going, "Oh my God, I can't believe you guys did that." And they're like, "Susan, you're dripping on the floor." And I'm like, "Am I just dripping? Am I peeing? What's happening? Oh my God." And we just started killing ourselves laughing because my big body had to acclimatize back
Yeah.
into that moment. And there was a big part of me that thought, you know what? I don't think I'm ever going to say I can't do it again. And I know I will because I'm human, right? We all are. But I'm going to look at that moment and I'm going to look at moments through my life when I learned that I am more than capable of anything. And so I think about that and I think about the laughter we had and the love that we shared and everything that happened that had I stuck with what I had said the day before, I can't do this. I wouldn't have had any of those laughter moments. I wouldn't have had any of that fun. I wouldn't have had that message. I wouldn't have had that revelation.
Ooh,
So just a reminder of, right? You can do anything you set your mind to. So don't say you can't do it. Because once you do it and you continue to do it, it's like, ooh, I'm so glad I actually did it. Yeah. So maybe not totally funny, but that was really just a moment where it was, I was so grateful that I had this moment to share. And I will remember that moment for the rest of my life. And I'll remember the women I was with, and I will remember the laughter we had and the stories we shared and the jokes we shared. And that will likely be the coldest water I will ever go into. And I don't think March is the best time to do it, but for me, it was absolutely the perfect time to do
wonderful. I wouldn't do it.
it. And you see, there's an interesting thing because you're choosing, right? I wouldn't do
Yes.
it.
Yes.
Not that I can't do that. It's I wouldn't do that.
No,
Yeah.
I'm Brazilian, baby, so I really need, the warmth.
Right. Yes, absolutely.
You know,
Absolutely.
while it's minus outside, it's always, very warm inside of my house. Thank God.
Yes. And we get to choose. And I think that's the beautiful thing about people that I've met from all around the world. And I mean, a lot of that happened 2020, COVID hit, we had to be online. And the most beautiful thing about that for me is that I have met so many amazing women, yourself included, from all around the world and some men from all around the world. And I realized that it doesn't matter what the temperature is outside, whether it's hot, whether it's cold, whether we're in an environment that's hot or cold, we're all human and we
Mhm.
all share fears and we all share humanity and we all have these moments where we are vulnerable and we don't want to be seen or we want to be seen. Is it a strength? Is it a weakness? Right?
Indeed, I love that you said that. Yes, we do have choices, and I do have a spa which I go quite often, and yes, the cold, the cold swimming pool is always there. I pass by, but I go next door to the sauna.
Right. Right.
And it's like it's one of those things. I don't need to have a date with that. Yeah, it might be an interesting experience. Yeah, but I don't feel I need at the moment. Let's just carry on with this laughter that we have brain now. If you would be a comedian, who do you think you could be very close to in terms
Oh,
of style?
I want to say Ellen DeGeneres because she has just this off the cuff kind of I mean, as much as her script is probably written for her and her jokes are probably written for her, it doesn't come across as if it is, right? It's just this funny connection.
Yeah,
And so many people want to be around her because it's infectious. It's sometimes I laugh at her and not at her joke or not at her, what she's said or what she's done. But I just love her sense of being. And I'm going to take that one step further. If I could be like her and I could tell a joke and be funny and connect with others, the whole world would know my name and everybody would know Susan Binney as opposed to
I
Ellen
love that.
DeGeneres.
The whole world would know my name. That's so, so empowering, impactful. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. Not what you were expecting of that. And on that topic, how many people When you ask them a question, are you expecting a certain answer? Because I know I used to be very planned, and it's like, ooh, I'm going to ask something in this way so that I get the answer I want. But if you go into life, whether it be in comedy, in coaching, in conversation, and speaking, whatever it is, go into it with a sense of, I don't know, amazement or a sense of wonder, curiosity, and don't expect the answer that you want. Expect the unexpected every time because you're going to get it, right?
Yes. How about that? When was the last time you had an orgasm?
Probably the minute I got on this call with you. It was like, wow, this is better than sex. Um,
Oh,
um, because it's not about that intimacy all the time with my husband. It's about the excitement and the wonder of life. And what brings true excitement. Sometimes it's what I eat, sometimes it's what I do, who I'm with. Um, and you bring as much vibrancy and excitement to my life as that of the orgasm that I would have. I mean, look at you. Yeah, look at you, right? Oh, she's got that. She's embarrassed. No, she's not, right? Um, because yeah, it's as much about the enjoyment of life
mm,
than the actual orgasm itself, right? It's that orgasmic, soulful idea of life.
mm.
Um, and if you want the honest truth, I want to say it was probably September 4th, 2000 and no, I'm just kidding.
It's all right. Yeah. Give us details. Come on. No, we're not here for that. We're here just for the fun. Exactly. Just for that.
Oh, too funny. Too funny. I don't think ever had anyone ask me that. When was the last time you had an orgasm?
I
Well,
guess
I don't
people
know.
would be thinking, watching this now, and be thinking, oh my gosh, she was so close to share.
She was going right on it, and it was September. Yeah, no, I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah.
March 4th.
Lucky me, I don't have these problems.
You don't have these problems.
I don't have these problems to have even to think about when it was. It just happens naturally every day.
There you go.
That's the beauty of life, and come to that place where you have studied to be a sexologist, and then you have truly connected with your partner, and you sort of train it, and have, I'd say, managed expectations and made the everything to just flow into an amazing way.
Oh.
Well, we can finish here now.
Okay, just a minute. I have to go change.
Yes. Right, Susan, this has been hilarious. I absolutely enjoyed so much to have you as a guest. And I think the level of inspiration that has been shared, and this is specifically for me very special, talk show has been definitely a very dear to my heart too, because we was able to talk about vulnerability, we was able to talk about stories that people connect, but we're not going yet, because I want to talk about the stories that people actually make to be able to connect in a way that there is a selling point. Those are stories that people think, what are the pain points that I can build here into the story in a way that I'm going to close a deal? I'm going to literally be able to, I don't know, relate to anyone and get as many clients as possible. I mean, I feel this has been one of the biggest things that has held me back, because it's like I decided to actually do my talk show first before I actually start putting many things on social media, because I said, no, my kids are getting older now. They don't need mommy as much as they used to once upon a time. So give me a new purpose. And then I just woke up literally with the name of my talk show, exactly how it would be about, the type of people I would love to have as a guest, and then recorded on the same day the first episode. And then I was absolutely sure this is how I want to show up to the world. This is how I want people to get to know me. The real me that can be spontaneous, can nearly swear, and can be vulnerable, can sing, can dance. I was dancing the episode we recorded this morning. And let people to be able to see who I am, because in the end, I am someone that have been through many struggles too. And I don't feel I need to talk in a way that is connecting with people pain. I want people to understand that, yes, I have been through that place of pain, but look where I am today. And if I am here, in a position that I feel that I can be into that powerhouse place, inspire people to also connect with the authenticity, then why not just do it on my way? So let's just talk from your experience. How do you see, this whole marketing thing that you need to follow successful models and talking to the pain points and be able to get your clients through that?
Yeah. So something that you just said, I love, have to. What do you have to do to fit into this to get your clients to connect? Okay. So there's nothing you have to do. Okay. First of all, you have to discover what you want. What was the outcome that you want? And then what will you do to get that? So when I help women and I coach them through story, it's about what do you want your audience to walk away feeling? What do you want them to connect with? And the work that you do, there needs to be a reason why you do that work. So, what got you into it? Who are you to do this work? Why do you actually do the work? What is it that you love about the work? And then tell them a little bit of a story that they can connect to and they can remember as to why you do what you do. Okay. So I'm actually pivoting and shifting my business into more of an empowered pivot line of coaching because women are stuck in going this way, full bore into this direction. And I love what you said about your podcast, because it wasn't, okay, I'm going to figure all this out and then I'm going to do a podcast and connect it all. And then I'm going to do, you started with something that came to you that was real for you. And you got people to start experiencing who you are, right? And so they have a sense of whether they want to work with you or not, just based on who you are, that flavor of you. Um, so it's really about sharing not that huge pain to gain story, unless, and this is the unless it connects to the work that you do in the world. Okay. And I want to relay a little bit of a story. I worked with this woman years ago who sold makeup, and she wanted to tell the story of her dad that died of cancer. And I'm like, okay, it's a pain to gain story for her. She lost her father of cancer and she has a message about cancer. But does that tie into the work that she does? She sells makeup. And so I said to her, unless you help people and you're a mortician and you help people look better in their death, I don't get the connection. She goes, well, I just want people to know about my dad who died of cancer. I said, okay, so you want them to know you're a victim. Well, I've been told to tell a horrific story. I'm like, yes, but as it relates to the work that you do. So after a lot of work with this woman and a lot of digging and a lot of going deep into her past, she told me that her mom, when she was little, as she was growing up, she had a really tough time fitting in at school because she had very bad acne and she couldn't wear a lot of makeup and she couldn't wear a lot of products and she didn't feel good about herself. And she instilled upon her daughter that, it's not about what you wear, it's about how you feel wearing it or how you look wearing it. And if it's not going to fit to your face and it's going to cause acne, then you should wear different products or you shouldn't wear makeup or whatever that case is. And I'm like, that's the story you need to share. Oh, but how about my dad? I'm like, if you're going to a motivational, inspirational talk on stage to speak to cancer survivors or families of those living with cancer, tell your dad's story because you'll connect with everybody. But then please don't sell your makeup at the end of it. Don't sell your product because that's not what you're there for. So first of all, it's about recognizing what you're there for, what it's all about, what the message is you want to put out. You know, you talked about social media. What is the message you want to put out on social media? And really what it is helping people with the pain that keeps them up at night, that you help people with, that you can relate to people with. And maybe it's a domino effect. So there's some people, and I don't even know that I can come up with an example here, but there are some people who help. So somebody has gotten a business coach. Okay, here's my example. Business coach, and their business is all set and it's all foundational, but they can't get clients. Okay, so now you need to work with a coach that can help you market your business. Your business is set up, but now it's about marketing your business. And maybe in part of that marketing is somebody to help you uncover your story, which is one of the things I help women with, uncovering their story. And then how do you get your message? How do you get your story out to the world in the best possible way? Well, that's speaking it from stage. Now, I can coach people from stage, but that's not I'm not a speaker coach from stage. I mean, I can do it, but that's not my 100%. So maybe it's about connecting 2 or 3 people to do that. There are also people who do a speak to sell program. I will tell you how to speak your story. I will tell you how to tie it into the work you do and connect with clients all the time. Okay, but they won't touch on what is your story.
Exactly.
And so, right, there are people that will say, oh, well, you have to jump on a webinar and tell your story. You have to be on a podcast. You have to tell your story. You have to do this and you have to tell your story. But who's teaching you the story? Susan Binney does that. So I can also take you through all of the other things, but it's not about things that have to happen other than, and here's a real quick moment of how to get clients, because to answer your question, connect and relate to your clients on a level they'll connect and relate to you. Tell the story that will connect best to your business and the work that you do. If it is a pain to gain story, then tell the horrific story that leads to that gain. But that gain needs to tie to the work that you do. Because if it doesn't, it's not going to get them as a client. It's going to get them to go, oh, you're right. Now I need a business coach. You're not that. Okay, well, you told the wrong story, right? So it's about connecting with the right story and telling them who you are, what you do, why you do it, how you help others, and why they should work with you, how they're going to benefit. And it's those 3 teaching moments that's going to help them understand how they benefit and how they will walk away feeling. When I speak to people, I want them to walk away feeling hopeful, empowered, and have a sense of wanting more. How do I tell my story in a way that I can connect with my clients the way Susan just connected with me? I need to hire Susan, right?
This is why I'm struggling to finish this program, because it's like I just feel I want more and people want more.
Right. And so it's about, if they want more, what is it that they want? And you can't figure that out by wondering without asking them. What more do they want? They want to know how to wake up every morning and feel like it's a beautiful, amazing day, even though the sun hasn't come up yet. What do you do to make them feel that way? Share that with them and tell them, do you want to wake up every morning? Like, I don't know what your total, I mean, I know what your total talk is and what you do, but for anyone who's watching this, it's about, if you help people have a better outlook on life, to see life through rose-colored glasses every day, then what you need to share with them is how they can see and experience that. And maybe it's that they have to wake up every morning and put the rose-colored glasses on so that they can see the life. And maybe nobody's told them they need the rose-colored glasses. And that's metaphorical. It's not an actual set of glasses, but maybe nobody's told them that they need to do that step. So they're trying to figure out everything else. So if you ask your clients what is missing, what is needed, what do you need to inspire, encourage, motivate, and implement so that life can be what you want. And once you know that instinctively, because that's what they told you, not what you think they need, what they actually need, then tell the story and teach that. And tell the story that will convey that. Right? Because anytime you're speaking from stage, or you're speaking on a podcast, or you're speaking on a Facebook Live or a LinkedIn, anytime you're speaking, Instagram, TikTok, social media, you want somebody to say, oh, I want more. And how do I connect? So make sure they know how to reach you so that they can then contact you and go, okay, now I get it. Right? You want people to say, oh, I'm Susan Binney and I help women empower their pivot to go from where they are to where they want to be in life, to have everything they always desired, and also to figure out what it is they desire. That was just off the cuff. And somebody to lean in and go, oh, how do you do that? And that's when you've got them. If they can lean in and ask, ooh, how do you do that? Then you can tell them how you do that and how they can work with you.
Exactly. And that's why we have connected so well, because we have very, very similar thoughts and how, the whole social media and marketing and connection should, I want to use the word should be about.
Yes. Yes.
So what is the silliest or just the most unexpected thing that you have learned about yourself since you started on this journey of empowerment and self-discovery?
The silliest thing I've learned about myself is that I can dance and I don't care who is watching. All I have to do is close my eyes and listen to the music and just move. And I always thought, oh, I can't dance in front of people because they judge me and I dance weird and I'm right. I was at this event and they invited like 10 people up on stage. And I'm like, I can do this. I teach this. I can do anything. And I got up there and I saw all the people and I saw everybody else on stage and they were moving. I'm like, okay, I'm closing my eyes. I just about fell off the stage.
Oh,
But I had to close my eyes and just hear and feel the music and move. And when it was all done, this one woman came up to me and she said, Susan, I thought you were going to fall off that stage, but you danced like you were alive. And I'm like, yeah. And did it look off? And was it really silly and funny? And she said, no more than anybody else on stage, but you were alive and you made me want to be you. And so that was just, it was a learning moment. Be yourself, be you. And somebody out there is going to say, I want to be like you. Yeah.
another wonderful, inspiring insights. Susan, people can find you at susanbinney.com. Is that correct?
Correct. Yes.
And how you would like to say goodbye to our listeners and people that will be watching this talk show?
Yeah, I think I want to say goodbye by thinking about you can do anything you set your mind to.
Mm.
I want you to think about what you can do to have the life you want. What will you do to make that happen? And who are you? Who are you truly to have the life of your dreams? Because once you figure that out, yes, you can. Yes, you will. Because yes, you are.
And so it be. Thank you so, so, so much. A huge pleasure to have you. Okay, thank you. And we await all of you on the next episode of Shift Your Choice and Laughter Lift. For now, bye. Enjoy your week.